Welcome, everybody. Um, welcome to our Help the Helpers on this special day in the U.S. It's Martin Luther King Day. And Martin Luther King has given us such incredible gifts, and we'll be talking about that a bit. But one of the gifts that he gave us is Isabel this morning because she has the day off from work so she can be with us. And we've missed her so much, I've been telling her. But unfortunately, Melinda can't be with us this morning because she's not feeling well. So just take a breath and wish Melinda that she feels better and will come back to us next week. So I think Isabel will do the first welcome and I'll do the second welcome. And we're going to have a wonderful experience today of focusing on our ancestors and lineage and what we've gotten from other people. So Isabel, I'll turn the welcome over to you first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm jumping with joy and excitement. Even though I'm not here, all of you are always present in my heart and in my mind on Monday morning. And I miss this group tremendously because I know that beyond the tiles in which we find ourselves, there's that connection and that inner knowing that we are all, as Dr. King say, integrally interconnected. And I'm just happy that you found time here in the United States. Today is a holiday. Um, and people take the time to do different things, but that you are taking the time to continue to create community and support for each other, I think is auspicious and beautiful. Welcome, and thank you for allowing me to come back in as if I had never left.
Well, it does feel like that you just belong here with us, and we know you are here in spirit, and I know that Melinda's here in spirit also, even though she's not feeling well this morning. So I want to tell you something. This week is my birthday on Wednesday, and I am going to share it with Biden. I often share my birthday with Martin Luther King because his birthday is right near mine, and we often share a day together. And and so this year, every 4 years, I share it with a president, and this Wednesday I'm sharing it with Biden, and he agreed to share it with me. He said it's fine to share my birthday with me. There's something sort of I don't know what to say about having a birthday. You all know about it, what it's like to have a birthday. But it brings me to a place of thinking about how I got here. As Mr. Rogers said in his acceptance speech, that I wanted to play for you, but I don't want to take the time, so we'll put it in the chat. Christine will do that. He said to think of the people who have loved you into being. And I'm thinking not only of my biological ancestors, my family, my biological family, and not only of all of the people who have loved me and taught me and cultivated me, including Jean Genlin, who I think of very often, as you know. But I'm thinking of the people that I never met, the people who have given me so much. And who is this me? You know, that question comes with a birthday, right? like, what is this me that is having a birthday? And what we've all learned in focusing is how the me isn't an entity being. The me is a process. It's a process that is always ongoing and moving. And it's a process that all of these tributaries come into this process. And so the me that I'm talking about, excuse me 1 minute. I'm sorry, I can't speak to you right now. So sorry for the interruption there. The me that I'm considering is a process of becoming. And I'm thinking about all of the spiritual ancestors, all of the people who have contributed to my heart and mind, who are there in me, not me as a closed system, but me as an open system. And all of those spiritual ancestors are sort of digested in me, and it's part of this great intricacy that I am, and that I am with you. I'm a new me with you as we're a new us. But we can also take out strands of those ancestors and just hold them in our hand, let them gleam like, wow. And I do think of Martin Luther King as one of those prized ancestors. I choose to be in his lineage, and maybe in some kind of way his lineage has chosen me. And so this morning I was thinking about my inner Martin Luther King and what I've gotten from him, what I've learned from him, what he's contributed to me. As focusers, we have the sense that we can always tap into that larger self process that goes way out beyond even our own lives to past lives and even future lives. And we can make the implicit intricacy explicit. And as my image is, allow it to gleam, appreciate it, learn from it newly, let it speak to us newly. So Martin Luther King is a very big influence to me. And I'm not gonna speak on and on about it because Isabel's going to also talk about Martin Luther King. And then we're going to let you talk about whoever has influenced you. But a few words. One of the things is his absolute refusal to fit into the confinements of the boxes, the cages of societal norms and ways of thinking about things. When we think of his determination, his commitment, I mean, it's sort of mind-boggling. I mean, it's really hard to even take in what that commitment was and what that insistence was. He was like a tree planted by the waters that will not be moved no matter what. He refused to think inside the boxes of superior and inferior. He refused to think inside the boxes of the haves and the have-nots. He refused to think inside the boxes of us against them, and tapped into that larger truth of how we are all connected. He was able, even with being tortured and eventually killed and beaten and all kinds of things, he refused to meet hatred with hate. And he, in that refusal and that larger thinking, that larger being of his, he was a waymaker when there was no way. And God, do we need his spirit now? Oh man, do we need his spirit now? I should say, oh woman, do we need his spirit now? Right? I mean, a waymaker where there is no way. He showed us with his life and his words and his being that we can't conquer hate with hate. He showed us that fighting does not mean violence, that we can fight for something with our caring, with our vision, with our commitment. And when we think about his being the master or one of the masters of nonviolence, we often think about it as non-physical violence, but it was so much more than that. I mean, how many of us can really meet the challenges of the polarizations, fragmentations, and chaos without to others or in ourselves deriding the enemy, putting them down, making them inhuman. Martin was able to do that. Martin was able to fight something without degrading the person, even when he was, of course, being degraded. And I think that's the greatest inspiration for me in our time. Can we fight without violence? Fight hatred with love, loving our enemies, but in that bigger way, love meaning this, seeing the human connection in all of us and being willing, not being willing, but also holding on to that larger piece of how we're all connected. Wow, that's amazing. And now I'm going to turn it over to Isabel, as I'm very interested in what Isabel has to say this morning. We're so happy to have you, Isabel.
Very happy to be here again. So what I as much as I don't know that it's what I have to say as much as what we collectively can experience together, right? So here's a piece I like to um, just read a little piece from Dr. King. I have a dream speech, which somehow is the most famous, but he did say lots of many things that sometimes don't have as much play in society. And I think that this little bit it's so appropriate to what's happening now and what we are getting to ready to embark in. And I think if I may quote Derek, He said this morning that we will be okay, and I want to evoke and invoke that we will be okay. And so here's what that I have a dream speech, a piece that speaks to me, and it's I say to you today, my friends. So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold this truth to be self evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners would be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. And I just want to take a moment here to allow that to land. That as many years ago as Dr. King spoke on this still rings true today. That today, even if we sit here as a collective, many of us are still holding the dream that we will all be able to sit at the table, regardless of what. I think Lynn used the word, um, we are an open system that is made up of many, maybe little system, but that all of those systems are what form the whole. And I think that there was even a piece that Lynn saying that we are looking to today to see how the threads of this very intricate fabric connects each one of us to each one of us. And that in that forming a whole, we form a tapestry that is just so beautiful, right? And so Lynn say, where are we making ways where we may think there are no ways, right? And that Dr. King, it's saying in his speech, we will be able to sit together at the table and break bread and go beyond whatever it is that separates us. I think that that's kind of like what we're trying to do in this Help the Helpers group, right? We want to go beyond just the people who are in a helper roles by definition and open this room to everyone who would want to sit at the table. And so the other piece I want to speak to, and then I want to do an attunement um, that will be short. It's that piece that Lynn spoke to and that Dr. King um, lived in his presentation every day. And that is that place of non-harming or non-violence. And I think that for all of us, and I think Lynn started to say it's not just physical violence. Sometimes we can be violent in our words towards others, towards ourselves, in our minds, in our actions. And so, really looking at where are those places where we are not grounded in the bigger picture of who we are, right? And so, in speaking and saying, Lynn say, I consider Dr. Ken an ancestor. Because an ancestor doesn't have to necessarily be somebody who's related by blood, but someone who you have chosen to learn from and to sit under the body tree with that ancestor to enlighten and enliven your heart, right? And so I want to do a little bit of an attunement that it's a hodgepodge of the another tradition in the indigenous community, and thanks to Shirley Turcotte. And so this is not the Shirley version, but it's a bit of a combination thereof. Just take a moment right now to sit or stand in a way that it's comfortable to you, that the body says to you, this is how it is for me today. And take a moment to bring attention to your own dream, whether it is a dream that you had, as Antonio Machado say, last night as I was sleeping, I dreamt, and just feeling that space there. What was it that you dreamt of? Whether you had a real dream, a wake dream, or just a thought about what it is that you want to have manifested. Take a quick notice of that dream and notice how you yourself have contributed to continuing the legacy of that ancestor or teacher or mentor. Where in your life today are you expanding in that legacy? Where in your life today are you being guided by that legacy? And then, at whose table are you wishing and aspiring to bring that legacy to? Where are you making a way where there's no way? And see if there's another question you want to ask for yourself that resonate for you, and allow it to come. And then at your own pace, in your own way, rejoin us for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Isabel. So I'm wondering, what is there for you with what Isabel and I have been talking about. Who are those people who have inspired you, who are in you, who you choose as part of your self process, who you can continue to learn from as we go on and on. Dr. King, died, his body died, but he's going on and on teaching us new things and reteaching us something that is fresh each time. But you may have other people that have come to you, whose dreams are part of you. So we'll take a breath, and then whoever would like to speak, we would love to listen. Just unmute yourself and how are people able to unmute themselves? And
Hi, I'm Steph.
hi, Steph.
I don't really know what to say, but a lot of tears are flowing. That really spoke to my deepest self. I feel like crying as I speak. So I just want to thank Isabel. It was extremely beautiful questions. And what's coming up is a tremendous amount of gratitude for those who have the ancestors that have been there for me and guided me. I think that's all I want to say. Thank you so much, Isabel. Thank you.
I was so glad, Steph, that you could begin by saying, I don't know what to say. That's always a wonderful way to begin. So you don't have to know what you want to say in order for your voice to be heard here, right?
This is Laura.
Hi, Laura.
I want to say Carl Rogers is an ancestor of mine.
Oh, yes, yes.
Discovering him in high school on becoming a person. Recognizing he's writing what I think. So somehow having absorbed that. And just a handful of a Buddhist teacher, Trungpa Rinpoche's a teacher of mine. Jean Genlin, of course. Diane Mushi Hamilton, who's another person who really was my teacher in starting this quest about 8 years ago of how to speak and how to accept somebody who thinks differently than I do, especially when I care about them. I noticed somebody who thought differently about 9/11 and how hard that was for me to accept. And that woke me up a little bit too. Wow, this is tough for me. And Barack Obama.
Yes.
Who I realized if I met him, there would be a person there, but inside of me, he's like, well, I'm getting clinical, say he's a massive projection, but still, just the first time I could really say, again, this person thinks like I do, like the empathy there. And the trust that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I'm thinking that we we might want to put in the chat those ancestors that we're thinking of. You know, Laura, so if you just put in all those ancestors that you talked about, then we'll have a kind of feeling of these are the ancestors of this us right now. And we could look up people that we don't know too.
This is Ayana.
Hi, Ayana.
So I had an ancestor in my family, Fagel Stern, who was an activist. And when people would get evicted from their apartment during the Depression, she would be there to move them right back in. And, you know, she's a role model. And when Isabel was talking about a dream, I had a dream last night where I was saying yes. I could choose no or yes, but I chose to say in a resounding way, yes. And I think it's yes to my creativity that I can offer, and just generally yes.
Thank you. You might want to put your ancestor's name in the chat just to have, you know, all of those there.
Oh, Stephen here. And can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Stephen.
Oh, great. Sorry. I went to a great grandfather and revisited him in a way I had never connected to before. My ancestor was of German nobility, and the peasants were starving, so he fought against the Kaiser, and he lost. And he was exiled to the United States with a great fortune, but without his titles and family. And the family focused on how he eventually ended up with alcoholism and drugs and gambled away everything that he owned. But when I connected and was curious, why am I here? I realized the family never focused or talked about his fighting for an injustice and risking everything. And I couldn't see what happened because there was no way for him to deal with the trauma. He lost his title, his children, his lands. Why wouldn't he end up with drugs or alcohol as one possibility? And then I realized that there's an embodiment in me to find a way where there should be a way.
Mm-hmm.
But there doesn't seem to be a way. And so I honor his intention, which got lost in the family's concept of what was lost instead of what he fought for.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you very much, Stephen. It reminds me that it's not the whole package of the person that we are treasuring. It's taking this strand and saying, what have I gotten here? And then just letting that speak to us freshly. So thank you, Stephen.
Hi, this is Noor.
Nora, hi.
I've been thinking about this question and people who inspire me, whether like I know them or I don't know them, whether I'm related to them or I'm not related to them. I find myself really inspired by people who, there's something for me about building bridges between people, between differences, between disagreements, and I find myself really what's the word, like attracted to that. How do we build bridges rather than burn them? Yeah, and to give a name, for me, Carl Rogers is someone who that for now is coming to me and is a really big inspiration for me. There's a book called The Quiet Revolutionary, where it's an interview. I think Gene Gendlin has wrote something in it, the beginning of it, and it's like an interview where he's asked questions about his life and his work. And I really like the name of the book, Quiet Revolutionary, speaks a lot to me. Yeah.
Would you put that in the chat for us, Nora? That I would love.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A couple of you have talked about how that there's something in common, a strand for many of the people that have inspired you, like this bridge building rather than bridge burning. I love that. Steve, you were about to say something.
Yes, first of all, it's wonderful hearing what people say. It hit me for the first time that songwriters are, song is really important to me. And so I never thought about songwriters as being ancestors and songwriters who are both, who have passed and who are living something. And it's interesting that question that Isabel talked about a dream and that, and I woke up as I often do with a song, and there are different songs, and the song that came to me today was some of you may, well, it goes, how can anybody ever tell you that you're anything less than whole? And there are more lyrics in there, but that I woke up with that and find that as an inspiration to my work and to my living, and of course Gene I would consider him an ancestor, and my father who sang while washing the dishes. And so introduced me to all of that, and a dear uncle who passed away about a year ago, and was a pioneer in the beginning of the state of Israel. And so there's something about something about a fierce bravery, I think, in there, and rising from something. So anyway, that's my piece for now.
Bravery and rising from something. Those are beautiful words. And if you'd put that song in the chat, I know that song, and sometime we'd love to have you do a presentation for us about music. So that would be wonderful, sharing songs.
I'd be honored. Thank you.
I would like to say some, this is very, I'm not sure, so much comes up for me and I'm not sure where to start with all this. But I was thinking about, I I did not grow up in this country, so Martin Luther King as a person wasn't part of my history. But I immediately went to the trauma that is carried by my people, the Jewish people, and the Holocaust, which affected my family personally. And, you know, so many things came up for that. And I noticed that in my own life, there is a certain thread, like a certain orientation to want to overcome that horrible trauma. And it's like I've been practicing Buddhism for 30 plus years because Buddhism talks about letting go of the fragmentation and achieving a world of peace, which seems like very idealistic, but somewhere I notice in my own life that I always oriented toward that dream. In my own spiritual work and in my own work with people. So what came up for me when you were talking, Lynn, Lynn and also Isabel, was to really take the work that I do with people, which is somehow hands-on or even like a soulful work, and orient that to the biggest dream of having people live together without overcoming that trauma of victimhood and hate. This is really what I want to achieve in my own life. I want to bring that into my own, to embody that in my life.
Yes.
And so it's not like one person. I think it's more oriented toward the thread that came throughout my own family, like my father, whose parents and most of his family was murdered in the Holocaust, and he was a victim of that. He became a very pained man, but he also had that dream inside. And I just want to continue the thread and take that further in the family and humanity in a way.
Thank you, Nurit. I feel so very touched by what you're saying and that dream of overcoming trauma.
Yeah.
And the natural response to being hated, being traumatized, being oppressed is to hate back. Martin Luther King, when he was rejected in childhood by his little friend, I guess at the age of 6 or something like that, and the friend's family said that he couldn't play with Martin because he was Black, and Martin's family tried to explain that we have these racial tensions, and Martin as a child decided that he was going to hate white people, and his parents said, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to hate in response to being hated. That's not going to overcome the problem. But there's something about that natural meeting of violence with violence, and something about what you're saying, Nurit, about overcoming the trauma, having this thread that lives it forward. Isabel is going to leave us with a poem. And thank you all so much for coming today.
This is from John O'Donohue, The Inner History of the Day. No one knew the name of this day. Born quietly from deepest night, it hid its face in light, demanded nothing for itself, open out to offer each of us a field of brightness that travel ahead, providing in time ground to hold our footstep and the light of thought to show the way. The mind of the day draws no attention. It dwells within the silence with elegance to create a space for all of our words, drawing us to listen inward and outward. We seldom notice how each day is a holy place where the Eucharist of the ordinary happens, transforming our broken fragments into an eternal continuity that keeps us. Somewhere in us, a dignity precise that is more gracious than the smallness that fills us with fear and force, a dignity that trusts the form a day takes. So at the end of this day, we give thanks for being betrothed to the unknown and for the sacred word through which the mind of the day and wisdom of soul become one.
Thank you, Isabel.
So much, Isabel. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. And Isabel, I hope we can see you again soon.
Thank you, Isabel. So nice to see you.
Always good to
Same
see you.
here.
Thank
I
you,
miss you
everybody.
so much.
Isabel, who wrote that poem? It's beautiful.
Jana Donahue, I'm going to put it in here in the chat. So if people want to wait a bit just to get it in the chat, but it's from the book of Blessing, which I love. It's just such a beautiful book that has so much inspiration. I just love it. So yeah, I'll send it to Lynn so Lynn can send it to this group.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Isabel.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I love our goodbye process.
Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.